Hey guys! So today I wanted to film a tutorial showing you how I draw my character's eyes. I use this technique all the time and I think it's pretty simple to follow. So stay tuned if you'd like to see the process of how I draw my big, cute cartoon eyes. Okay, so jumping right in, we're going to start off with some guidelines. Our first line is going to lay right about here up underneath the eyebrows, and it's going to rest on the top of our ear. This is the line where the top of our eye is going to reach. So I'm just going to erase the ear right here because the hair is covering it. And our second guideline will be a little bit farther down, and it's going to touch right in the middle of the ear. And now I'm just adding some side lines to create sort of a box where the shape of our eye is going to be drawn. Next, we're going to start with the shape of the eye. When finding a good shape for the eye, think about the shape of an almond or a football. This is going to be the base of your eye. So try to get these almonds as even as possible, which I know can be difficult, but if your character is looking straight ahead, it's better for the eyes to look symmetrical. And here I'm going to just draw little arches above the eyes, and this will create a lid. In the middle of the eye, we're going to draw these circles, and these circles are going to act as our irises, or the colored portion of the eye. So if your character has brown eyes, then this circle would be colored brown. Trying to get these circles in the center and both of them the same size can be tricky. You'll see me going back and forth a few times throughout the video trying to get them even. See, they look cross-eyed here because they're too close together. So it does take some practice. A little tip when drawing these circles is, the bigger you draw the circles, the cuter your character will look, and the smaller you draw the circles, it'll make your character look more scared. I'm just going in now and erasing some of those guidelines. I usually don't use guidelines, which is why some of my drawings are so crooked, but I do think that they're a great tool to keep things aligned when you're drawing. I'm cleaning up the overall shape of the eye because I wasn't quite liking the shape, and your eyes don't have to be an almond or football shape. They could be more slanted depending on the ethnicity of your character, or they could be big and round, like on this little cartoon I drew of my dog. I think the circular shape of the eye gave him a really cute look. Now I'm just making the lids a little darker, and when you're drawing your eyelids, make sure to leave a little white area in the middle. You'll see why this is important later. This part is really important. I'm adding a smaller circle inside the iris to create a highlight on the eye. The main reason why I add a highlight is because it makes my characters look adorable, but more importantly, you don't want your eye to look dull and dry. Adding a highlight gives a natural wetness and shine to the eye. And a cool thing about this is, the more highlights your character has, the cuter your character is gonna look. On to the pupils now. We're just going to draw another circle in the middle of the iris. The eye is really just a bunch of circles stacked on top of each other. And I'm gonna go ahead and color this in black. So by now you can probably see that the eyes look more like eyes. And the next step is one of my favorite steps, which is lashes. For this tutorial, I'm just gonna draw some light wispy lashes because that's not really the main focus of this video. But usually when I draw eyelashes, like in these two drawings, I make sure they're big, fluffy, and voluminous. I like for them to really stand out. Even with this character I drew, I made sure all three of her eyes had really thick lashes. I just feel like adding big, bold lashes just pulls the whole eye look together. Okay, so we're gonna zoom out a little, and here I'm gonna take an ultra fine point Sharpie, and I'm just gonna trace over the pencil lines to make everything we've done so far stand out, because our next step is going to be shading. Alright, so for the shading, we're gonna focus on the sclera first, which is the white part of our eye. I'm adding a very light, barely noticeable gray shade here to start. Then I'm going to go in with a darker gray line a little bit below the top lid. This is going to create a shadow between the top of the lid and the whites of the eye. I'm just going to go ahead and shade this in a little bit darker. And this is important because it adds depth to the eye, and it kind of brings everything to life. I add this shadow to the sclera in all of my pictures. As you can see here, there's that darker gray area right below the top lid. It just emphasizes that area where the lid meets the eye. After I've shaded that sclera shadow, I'm going to move on to coloring my iris with a colored pencil. For the sake of this video, I'll just make her eye color black. And you'll want to make that area right below her lid on the iris darker as well, because that's a part of the same shadow, if that makes any sense. Okay guys, we're almost finished. Our last major step is going to be shading the eyelids. You want to make the corners darker and have a gradient from the corners to the center where it should be the lightest. As you can see here, I start darker and gradually get lighter the closer I get to the middle. This is what I was referring to earlier when I said leave the middle of the lid white. It gives it a rounded effect as well as making it look kind of shiny. Now that I've zoomed out, you can really see the eyelids have that gradient effect to them. If you're giving your character makeup, this would be the area where you would add your eyeshadow color. Here I'm just adding some finishing touches, shading around the eyes, and making some of those shadows a little darker. And that's basically all there is to it. Here's my finished product. If you enjoyed this content, please leave me a like and a comment down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.